Well, hello out there. This video is going to be about 3 different ways to control a telescope by computer. Now, originally I was going to compare this program I got right up here, Cartes du Ciel, which is a sky chart that's free, and I was going to compare it with Stellarium, which is also free. So both of these can be used just to find objects, figure out where they're at, get information on them. But you can also connect them to a telescope mount if you have a computerized mount. Now, in this case, I'm going to be using a Celestron AVX mount. And in order to use it, I have to connect to CPWI and get it to connect the hand controller. What it does is it bypasses the hand controller by way of a USB cable that I've got going from the hand controller to my computer. And so, obviously, if you have an AVX, this part would apply to you, but if you don't have an AVX, you can still compare the other 2 programs to each other. So I'm going to go ahead and make my connection. I've already got the mount powered up and all that, and I'm indoors. It's nice, wonderful January weather. So I'll click hand controller, and it's searching for my mount. It found me, and I've manually entered approximately where my latitude longitude is. I live near Terre Haute, Indiana. And so then what I would do is click manual alignment, and I'm just going to do it real simple. I'm just going to click on like 1 star. And I think this part here is kind of gone off of the screen, but I'm clicking ready. And now I'm going to select my target, and I'll zoom out a little so we can see more sky. And let's see here. It's got a bunch of suggestions. We'll just say Capella. And then down here, darn, let me move this a little bit. Thought I had this set up before okay, there, we'll at least get it where we can see it. So we're going to click go to Capella, and I can hear my mount moving, see it moving, and you notice the green here, that tells me it's going over to Capella, and it's going to slow down, and it's going to do a little fine tune there to get positioned. And then you got your slewing controls here, and of course the idea here is to center it up in the eyepiece, so, or your camera or whatever. So let's just say I've made some adjustments and got it centered. I click centered, and it shows up over here. And now if I'm going to make a pointing model, which is what the idea of this is, it helps you figure out how far off your polar alignment is off, if any. And I'm just going to go over to yet another star. We'll go over here to the other side of the sky. This red line there is the north-south line, the meridian. So over here on the left, that's the west side of the sky. Yeah. And we'll just go over here to the east side. And we're going to Dubhe, or however you say it, over here in the Big Dipper. And it's going across here, and it would be doing a meridian flip. It's taking kind of a weird route. Logic said it would have just kind of went right across here. But since it's an equatorial mount, it's got to do the old meridian flip, so it looks funny going across here. And it centers up there again, and I'll just assume that I've made my adjustments and click centered. So I've got a couple of stars, and you can do more, and it'll show you your error and all that. Now let's say you just wanted to use this. Let's say you said, I don't want to, have to connect other apps and everything. Well, this has a map in it. It's got a sky map. So let's go to Find Targets, and let's go to Local Database. And it actually lists a whole bunch of objects that are visible from your area. And of course, it doesn't know if you've got trees in the way or a hill in the way or a building or whatever. You can tell it here the minimum altitude. Like for me at my house, if it's way over in the east, it's got to be about 45 degrees above the horizon before it's above the trees. But if it's a couple of spots in the south, I might be able to get away with 25 or 30 degrees above the horizon, and then I can do something similar to that in the west. And just kind of get to know your area. And then of course you can tell it if you want to have objects that are east of the meridian, so the east half of the sky or the west half of the sky, or either side. And then you can of course select all your different objects. And what I've noticed here is it'll have multiple names, like say, okay, well here's a good one. The Black Eye Galaxy is also M64, and it's also got an NGC number 4826. And it could have some other numbers, just for different catalogs. And I can just click on it and say go to it, or let's say if I don't happen to see it on the list, I'm going to just type in M64. It finds it, and I'm going to go ahead and say go to target. What don't you like? Oh, I guess I have to select this now that it came up. Okay. So now that I clicked select, I don't usually use this, so I'm a little new at this particular software on this. But so it finds that, tells me my RA and deck. Kind of nice. It also tells me my location of where it's at. It says its azimuth is 95 degrees, so since 90 is east, it's just about 5 degrees to the south of east. And its altitude's 42 degrees, almost 43, since it's got 54 minutes. So this is potentially above my trees. I'm going to go ahead and click Go To. And I'll move that down, and we can watch this going over here. And it centers up there. So then we've found it. So you can do that with lots of little different things on here, so that's nice. So it's just, it's simple. We'll close that. Okay, so another feature here on CPWI for finding targets. We just did our local database. That's inside the hand controller. We can go to this Simbad Online, assuming you're connected to the internet. And I've got it connected now. So we'll just search for something. I'll just go M101 and hit search. And what it does is brings up the RA and declination. And since CPWI knows my location and the time and all that, it knows where it's at in relation to my horizon. So it tells me it's above the horizon and it's out in the east and all that. And then I can just click Go to Target. So really it's very similar to the other search I was just using, except since this is online, it should be larger, I guess, is really what it amounts to. So that's just another feature on there. And then you can just manually type in a right ascension and declination if you want to, and then click go to again. And then of course, if you see something on here that you know what the object is, let's just go ahead and I see something fuzzy over here. Oh, it's a beehive cluster. Okay, I saw that on the list earlier. I can click go to. So you can use the map as well. And it looks like we're doing yet another meridian flip. So the telescope would be going up here over to where it was pointed at Polaris, like if I was trying to polar line. And then back over to the west side of the sky. So as you can see this here, it's, you know, reasonable. You can use that to find your way around. And plus, once you have this, because this is the way to connect this mount anyway. So from here, if I want to go bringing up, say, PHD2 to guide or whatever, it's no problem. I can bring it up and connect the mount. And let's just go ahead and say we're going to go over to, first I'm going to go to another star because I don't know the beehives. I'm going to go back to Capella, I guess, for a minute. And while it's going back there, I'm going to bring up Cartes du Ciel. And for this one, you have to connect to the telescope, which if you've got everything set up, all your drivers and all that, it's pretty simple. So I go to the telescope and then connect telescope. And up here at the top, and you have select. So if you've never set this up before, say if you just downloaded it, I'll click the select here and then, come on baby, it'll come up here in a second hopefully. Should bring me a nice little menu. There we go. It's bringing up the ASCOM telescope chooser. And for this you select CPWI instead of something like Celestron AVX or even Celestron telescope driver, which is actually for this same piece. It's for the same mount. And I'm just going to go ahead and click OK. And now that I've got that, I'm going to go ahead and click connect. And okay, it's brought up. I've got green color here on connected, tracking, and park. Now if you happen to have parked your mount, you might have to click unpark, because I have had times when I was doing this with a different computer and it had been parked and the connect turned green, and since it was parked it obviously wasn't tracking, so this said unpark, and I clicked it and it changed over to green, and then I started the tracking and I got that green. And it's also telling me the should be the correct RA and deck here. We'll compare it. 518.31 for RA. Go back to CPWI. And way up here. Okay, it's got 516.44. They're close. But I can, what I'm going to do, since I've got Capella, I'm going to pick Capella on here. Because I haven't told this to track it yet. So I'm going to go track telescope. And it should find Capella, yeah, right there. A in the constellation Auriga, or Auriga. And I'm going to left click on that once. Computer might be, I don't know if it's running a little slow. This doesn't normally happen. It's possible that this computer is a little slow. And I just right click it, and I'm going to find telescope, and I've already slewed to it, and let's say I know it's centered. I'm going to click sync, and it's calling it Alpha Auriga here, so its name is a little different on how it has it named. So it's going to say that it's pointed there, and we'll back off out of here. So I'm just scrolling out with my scroll wheel. And let's say we want to go look at, oh, I don't know, something around here. Let's say M81 or M82. There, M81 showing up. So I click on that once, left click. Now I'm going to right click it, and it brings up this menu. And since I see about M81 and it's selected here too, I know that's actually what I clicked on. If you miss it, it'll give you kind of a generic thing there. So I'm going to say slew to M81. Pretty simple, it just goes there. If I go to my Connect Telescope menu here, click OK, there it comes up. It's actually showing me my progress here. Plus it's showing it on the map here, which I may have actually accidentally rotated away. But it, oh, there it is, it was there. It shows the movement of it. I'll zoom in a little so you can see it. I may not have just had it close enough to see it easily. Yeah, this old computer's a little slow is why it's acting funny. I've been doing this on a different computer, and this one here seems to be a little slower. So we're here at M81. I've got a eyepiece type circle drawn around it, which is in setup and display. It'll pop up, and we'll go up here to push this menu to the right. We're going to go finder circle or eyepiece, and I've got a little bitty one there. It says it's 5 arc minutes in diameter, and also I got one at 120, which is 2 degrees, so that's the one that we can see fairly easy. And let's just say we're going to make a move over here to, I think that's a Dubhe, in the Big Dipper. And again, I'll right click, go down to telescope, and slew. And we should see the, yeah, you can see the progress of it, as the circle moves around. And then it's there, and then again you can center it up and hit sync if you want. And now let's take a look at Stellarium. So to do that, first I'm going to disconnect from Cartes du Ciel, and I'm still connected to CPWI this whole time. There's CPWI, and CPWI shows where I'm at. Now Stellarium's kind of an odd ball in a way, I think. It, let's see, for the first thing I'm going to have to do, I'm going to find north, so I'm going to hit Shift N. I know I'm near the bowl of the Big Dipper there. So I'm going to bring the menu stuff up, and I want to hit constellation lines. Makes it a little easier to recognize things. If I can drag this downwards a little bit, there I can see it. So right there's what I'm pointed at with my scope. Stellarium does not know this. I haven't connected the telescope to it yet. And when I do, I have to actually tell it. flip away from that. Come on, baby. You're distracted. And bring my menus over and see them, please. We'll make it full screen. It's not wanting to. I think since I've made this box smaller, there, it's got it. I don't know why that wasn't cooperating. We'll go over here and find telescope. And we'll get this menu up here in the middle so we can see it. My screen recorder is not recording the entire full screen, so I've made these boxes what were supposedly the correct size. And I thought it was working. So I'll click Configure Telescope. And I've already done AVX here. As long as I'm on here, selected ASCOM AVX, which I named that. I'm going to click the little wrench here and show how I went about configuring it. So telescope controlled by, in this case I have to select ASCOM, and then I just typed in the name AVX, and I left the coordinate system alone. And you can select start or connect at startup, so when you start up Stellarium, you can have it connect to your telescope if you've got it set up like in an observatory or something, or some kind of permanent way. So then you click this choose ASCOM telescope. We'll go ahead and click it, and it brings up the same ASCOM telescope chooser that we saw earlier in Cartes du Ciel. So let's go ahead and click OK again, and it's on it. And I'm telling it to let ASCOM decide the coordinate system, just how it's reading the RA and DEC. And I've told it to use field of view indicators. So I type these in, you put a comma between each one, and these are in degrees. So we'll see how good that does it. I've got 1 degree, comma, 2 degrees, and 4 degrees. So it's kind of like a Telrad viewfinder, I guess. And that's everything there. So I'll click OK. So then that means that I've got this configured, hopefully, right? And I'll click Connect. And that connected pretty quick. If you saw my other video where I was trying to do this with my Explore Scientific mount, I had it on PMC8, and I was able to use that mount with Cartes du Ciel with no problem, but I couldn't get it to work with Stellarium. And I think it said connecting, and I thought maybe it was working, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't move it, the scope, or anything. So maybe there's more that I need to learn on that setup. So I'll go ahead and close this box. And now you have to tell it where you're at. As you can see, it's got the RA and DEC as zeros, so it doesn't get, this Stellarium does not talk to Celestron's CPWI software. And so I'm going to double click this Dubhe star here. I'm going to click it twice to make sure it's actually selected. Then I'll go up here and I'm going to click Current Object, and it'll change this RA and DEC. So now it's got the RA and declination. As you can see, it doesn't give me any other information. I have to know whether, I mean, the map, when I look at the picture, tells me whether or not something's above the horizon and all that. But this doesn't offer that information. And if now we're going to, let's go to a different star, and let's just go to one right up there in the bowl next to it. Merak, I guess that is. And I'm going to click current object yet again. And it fine-tuned this RA index. And I click slew, it should move. So I hear my mount moving. Made a rather small move. If you notice, you don't see this indicator going across the sky or anything. It doesn't do the things that you would see on CPWI or Cartes du Ciel, either one. So basically you tell this, hey, I'm pointed here, now move here, and you can hear your scope move, but Stellarium doesn't really give you any kind of confirmation. So I think that part's a little bit awkward with it. I'll go ahead and kill that. And let's see, I can show you a few things about the software. Just go right click to get rid of that menu. We've got my RA and declination down, or my, latitude and longitude, so my location here in Indiana. If I drag my cursor over here to the left, I've got my location window. We'll click on that. And this is where it shows me over here in the United States and blah, blah, blah. And I've got this stuff here just kind of estimated as my location, which reminds me of another thing. I've entered my location in multiple things. I entered it in ASCOM when I was setting it up. I entered it in, I think CPWI might have picked it up, but I think I can enter it in that. I can enter it separately in Cartes du Ciel. I've got a little polar finder that's an old thing that I've got a real simple app. I enter it in that. So you have to make sure that you've got the same information entered in several different programs if you're using all these different ones, or it'll get things really confused. And see, we've got the date and time, sky viewing options, got a search window. You can go find something. Let's see, M101's around, so we can find it. It'll show me where it's at. If I want to get double clicked in, I have to zoom in quite a ways to, it should show me a picture of it. I'm not seeing the picture. I think it's because my computer's slow. That's what it is. I zoomed away and there we go. If you had this, if I didn't have the telescope connected to this computer and running and all that, this would have worked faster, but I'm using an old computer. I'm learning a little bit about how much this particular computer is going to be able to handle this, because if I'm trying to run, say, this AVX mount, and I bring up CPWI, and bring up something like Cartes du Ciel or Stellarium, and bring up PHD2 Guider, and try to bring up a plate solver software or something, it could end up crashing. But I don't actually need all of them, so I'll get that figured out. But anyway, as you can see, Stellarium does show you a photograph of it. Over here in Cartes du Ciel, you can see it's not showing me anything like that, but if I put it in on the search, M101, hit enter, comes up and finds it, I'll click on here, it brings up a menu, so it does have a picture of it. It just doesn't show it on the map. So I think this software here actually runs a little quicker with an older computer. Find Stellarium again. And Stellarium, if I can get to come back up. It crashed on me. So that was nice. So anyhow, this gives you an idea of what you're going on, and I think that crash was just because I'm using an older computer. And this is a new version of the program too. I suppose if you're using an older computer and trying to run all this, you could find older versions of your star maps, or say really, with this particular mount, I don't even need to bring up multiple ones. Anyway, hopefully that gives you an idea, at least a little comparison of these three sky charts, and see if you like one or the other better.